Good evening, Fernwood. It is your Ready for Anything compatriot Neil here, and it's time for us to go in completely vulnerably to the final episode of Season 1 of Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. Yes, this is July 2nd, 1976's episode. The next episode will be 3 months from now in 1976 time. That's maybe not what we're going to do here, but to find out what we're going to do here, you'll have to wait till the end of watching this episode. So let's do our recap and maybe take a look at some of the things that didn't happen yesterday. Like with the Shumways, Martha is really distressed because Billy Twelvetrees got on a bus and no one knows where he is. George and Raymond are also a little bit worried because Kathy left a note that said that she is making a very big decision, and that big decision may be related to the fact that Father DeMarco finally admitted that he had feelings of love for her. Over at the McCullough household, Betty has been sent to live with her sister in San Diego as Howard pledges to Ed that he is ready to come out of the closet and for them two to get married. Now that takes care of all of the business that wasn't featured in yesterday's episode, or at least the business that I feel like talking about. Yesterday, we started with a very brief scene between Merle and Jimmy Joe Jeters. Merle was sending Jimmy Joe out to see a movie for several hours as Loretta was a meeting that Merle was anticipating in a gross way. After that, we come upon Mary, who is still in the toy store in New York City, still longing for that dollhouse that the salesman says is not for sale, that it is an heirloom that is not going to be available to her. And in that moment, Mary has a dream of what her perfect life would be and what Tom would be like and what Heather would be like. And in this dream world, all of the story points that we have seen throughout the series that have been personally impacting Mary in her life were simply distant events that could be brushed off. And Tom and Heather and Mary live a beautiful life in a beautiful home, and then she's woken up and brought back to reality. And reality, of course, is an interview on the David Susskind show. She expresses her point of view and maybe puts a little bit of mask on that face. And we see really just a brief snippet of the documentary that was shot about her. And that's really where the episode ends. So as I mentioned, today is the final episode of Season 1 of Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. Stick around for after the show and we'll find out what happens between now and Season 2.
You was driving down the highway. You was staring at the stars above. Oh, you double clutching He-Man, baby. Woo! I need your 10-wheel love. Oh yeah, well, babe, you know something? You think this is appropriate for a religious program or any?
Well, sure I do. I think it's perfect. I like it, really.
Well, okay, good. If you like it, I'll do it. You know, there was another great one that I was going to do, too. It's called Gone to the Graveyard, But Yet You're Still Here in My Heart. It's a fabulous song.
Sounds good.
But I decided that it might not be good to do because, you know, your little Lurleen, you know, your sweet wife, she passed on and everything. I didn't want to make you sad, you know.
Well, I sure appreciate that, Loretta, but I'll tell you the truth. I don't think you could say or do anything to make me sad. You got a loose hair there.
Oh, thanks.
Sure.
Well, you know what I bet, Merle? I bet that just any day now you're going to be meeting a special honey bunch of your own, just truly lovely lady and all, because you deserve it, you will.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt about that myself.
I just thought of another song. Fabulous, fabulous song. It's called Mother is a heap of loving, and that's the truth to tell. It's a great song. It's one I wrote. It's about a man, a wife, and their 11 children and everything, and it's kind of a modern, updated version of Little Old Woman Who Lived in a Shoe, you know?
Great.
Fabulous.
Great.
Except this, of course, woman is younger. She's not a little old woman, and she's doesn't live in a shoe. She lives in a house and everything, but she has lots of kids and all that, you know, and it's a special favorite of mine.
How come it's a special favorite?
Well, it is because just children, kids in it and everything,
Oh,
you know, I
yeah.
like that. And I don't have any of my own, you know, so I like it for that reason.
You know, it's funny, but I always had the feeling that you wanted children.
So I admire that you grasped onto that, hon, because that's true. That is absolutely the truth. I'll tell you, me and Charlie have tried a number of times.
You guys gonna keep trying, or?
We're going to keep trying. We're not going to give up the Lord's faith because we really would like to have one. We're just
That's
gonna,
good. That's wonderful. Of course, it's getting a little late in the game for old Charlie, but
Well, it's never too late for Charlie, I'll tell you.
Mhm.
Oh, I mean, he's a wonderful man, you know. He's
I know
fabulous.
he is.
Yeah.
I know he's got to be to have a wonderful woman like you. But
What time is it?
it's only 6:45.
Whew, I have got to go. I had no idea it was this late. See, I guess when you're having a good time, time just flies, and I was having a good time. Anyway, see, my best friend Mary is going to be on television tonight. She's
Yeah.
going to, this typical American housewife thing. Isn't that exciting? Mary Hartman, you know, from New York. And y'all don't have a TV or anything here, so I really better be getting on my way.
Yeah. Well, gosh, can't you pick it up on the reruns or anything? Isn't that can't you do that sometime?
Yeah, they do. Merle, what are you doing?
Can I come in?
Yeah, sure. Come on in. Hey, it isn't Loretta, is it? Is she hurt or something?
No,
Oh,
not yet.
what do you mean, not yet?
Well, it's awful hard for me to say. Can I sit down?
Yeah, sure. Come on over here, son. Yeah, sure. Sit right down right here. Listen, can I get you a glass of milk or cookie or anything like that?
Nah, that's okay. You know, I just come from the show. I had popcorn, bonbons, jujubes, and a Coke.
Jimmy Joe, let's get to the part about Loretta not being hurt yet. Where is she? Where is she?
I don't know if I'm supposed to tell that part.
Tell me. Tell me, Jimmy Joe.
You see, I was at the show. It
Yeah.
wasn't even a G-rated movie, but I was supposed to sit through it twice. Except this voice come to me.
What? The manager? The voice of the manager came to you?
No, like a voice from on high. It was saying I ought to tell you about my pa's weakness.
Jimmy Joe, I know about your pa's weakness. Loretta knows about your pa's weakness. Everybody knows about your pa's weakness. All I want to know is about Loretta.
But do you know what my pa intends to do about his weakness?
Intends to do about his weakness? No.
With Mrs. Haggers?
Jimmy Joe, get to the point!
Well, what my pa says is how Loretta's going to be his new wife to help him stop his sinning.
Gonna be his new wife.
Well, I know, of course, that can't be, on the account that she's your wife, and you're not supposed to covet another man's wife. You know, I could quote you a chapter and verse if you'd like.
No, that won't be necessary, Jimmy Joe. Where are they now?
At the motel.
Merle, I don't believe I understand what's happening.
Well, shoot, it's not that tough. See, I didn't ask you up here to my motel room because I got the hots for country and western music. I asked you up here because I got the hots for you.
And my talent, you mean? My talent?
Well, you might say that. Your talent for keeping my mind off fallen women, yeah.
Well, we could pray. Let's say a prayer. If you
Well,
want.
I tell you, I don't think that's going to cut it this time. See, what I'm thinking about is revamping my whole life.
Well,
and
that-
Jimmy Joe's, too.
That's good, Merle. A Christian should do that. If you find room, you know, for self-improvement,
Right.
then you should revamp your life. That's a very good
But
idea.
what I had in mind is making you my wife.
Your wife? I'm hardly somebody's wife. I mean, Merle, I have a
Loretta,
husband.
look,
I have
I
a
need you.
career.
I need you.
You don't need me. See, you just think you need me because we're in this little teeny tiny room together and everything, you know, and the door's
that's
locked
not
and all
it.
that.
You know it. You know we're right for each other. You know that, and you know how much Jimmy Joe cares for you.
Well, Jimmy Joe's only 8 years old, and I care for him, but you're a grown man, Merle, and you
Loretta,
cannot
you're a
go
beautiful
around.
woman. You deserve more than that bald-headed old man with glasses.
go of me. Loretta!
I'm gonna scream if you don't.
Don't just scream now.
Charlie!
Get out of here, Haggers!
Charlie, help me! Charlie!
Are you all right, honey? Are you all right? Look out! Put that thing down! Look out, Loretta!
Well, now that we've seen the film of your life, Mary,
Portion.
I'm sorry, a portion. I think maybe it's time for our experts to ask questions of you. I'd like you to meet them. First, there's consumer advocate and author of Priceless at Any Price, Norman Nardine. Feminist and contributing editor of Counter Sex magazine, Shirley Steen. And lastly...
Not lastly, David, ultimately.
I'm sorry. Ultimately, Tucker McMarshall, media expert and author of several books, too numerous to mention.
The medium is extreme, medium well done.
Available in paperbacks wherever books are sold.
Including supermarkets.
Now, I believe you all have questions for Mrs. Hartman.
I'll start up, David.
I thought you wouldn't.
Mary,
Hi.
now we've all watched the film of your life. And I think we can all agree that what we saw was a fairly harrowing portrait, and I say this in all sympathy, of a woman manipulated by the images and the artificial imperatives around her. Do you feel manipulated by Madison Avenue? And of course, I don't use Madison Avenue in the cabaret, but rather the Orwellian sense. That is, in effect, robbing you of the ability to make a fuller life for yourself?
What is that, Madison Avenue? What is it, a book, a
No,
movie?
it's a street.
Oh, it's a
New
street?
York, it's a street.
Oh, no. I feel like I'm a fuller person.
I think what Shirley is trying to say is, do you feel that you get your money's worth for the goods and services that you buy?
And do you have a satisfactory sex life?
I beg your pardon?
I think what Tucker's trying to get at is, do you think our product society is sexually oriented?
Oh, definitely. Yes, I do, and I hate it. I mean, I don't mean I hate sex. I just hate that it isn't necessary to me, you know, to use sex to sell toothpaste.
No, that's not what I meant, David. What I meant is, do you feel that this barrage you get of media exhortation to buy and buy and buy ultimately reduces the sensitivity of your personal life?
No. I mean, I think that, you know, television commercials and stuff like that are really good, like, you know, for making available feminine hygiene sprays. And you know, I've just found out about vitamin E, which I was thinking, you know, of having my husband use because, you know, it does, you know. So, and then I also think they've made, they've done a lot of things with making more attractive sanitary napkins. And I think that's a very good thing. And then they have ads that are very tastefully done for, you know, contraceptive
Is
things.
life what you expected it to be when you were first married?
Well, I try to be an informed shopper.
Did you seem to be able to get along with less 14 years ago?
Were your orgasms better before Johnny Carson?
Excuse me, I thought that they were going to be asking me, you know, like what I used around the house and
Well,
stuff.
don't you think that it's all the same? I mean, basically, we're talking about dehumanization. Do you feel dehumanized?
Or do you feel fulfilled?
In certain ways, fulfilled. Yeah. Not in big ways. I mean, not like in, you know, publishing a book or anything, but like in having a whiter wash, yeah, fulfilled.
Do you feel that the man's role as head of the house has limited your hopes and ambitions?
Do you feel women's lib is media hype?
I feel, you mean like commercials, television and stuff? I think television is real helpful for women's liberation, because I think that it can get them, you know, out of the house because of all the products that they see, all the commercials and stuff, that, you know, they can leave the house because at home they have Tidy Bowl and Jafome.
Your daughter seems like a very...
Oh, now, absolutely. For example, like, she could use Jafome and be at the movies and be just as effective.
Do you worry about the quality of her educational future?
Do you feel her education's packaged like breath mints?
With absolutely no nutritional value?
No. No, quite the contrary. You see, I could see little Heather going off to school in like a little polyester separate with a Del Monte fruit cup in one hand and know.
Do you worry about her sex life?
My attitude on that is the same as the First Lady, Betty Ford's.
Well, what about extramarital affairs?
I thought, excuse me, I thought they were going to be asking me that, products and stuff like that.
But they also want to know about the effect on other aspects of your life.
I know, but they keep asking me about sex in my family
I
life.
think, Mrs. Hartman, well, we are just trying to respond to the film that we saw and, well, what we picked up in it.
I do not condone extramarital relationships, but I think that sometimes, as Ann Landers has said,
we
that
heard repeated references to the Reader's Digest. Is that...
Oh, well, I think they're wonderful. I mean, they are wonderful. I mean, they condense material. I mean, what a time saver.
Are you trying to say that all your opinions are condensed and secondhand?
I think we're badgering the lady.
Absolutely not. My opinions and my ideas and my feelings, they're mine. They're not condensed and secondhand, they're mine. They're from my life. They're my feelings. What you saw, what did you see, like a little bit, 5 days of a movie? Yeah, there is nothing wrong with commercials, nothing. You can learn from commercials. You can learn from commercials. And I must say that I find this attitude here is very strange. I mean, there's a general attitude, and it's as though I'm incapable. Well, I'm not incapable. I run a full household. And what I give my people in my house, I give it to enrich them and to protect them. I try to protect them. I mean, I can stand on my own here, I mean, I did not crack under the threat of VD.
Were you raped?
And I did not crumble under the stigma of indecent exposure or homosexuality.
Do you think there's equal justice under the law?
And I want to say that I stood firm in a major auto wreck, fibroid tumors, mass murders. I am not a victim.
I don't think that's what we're trying to say exactly.
And I even coped with, and this was just recently, finding out the fact that my real grandfather was just found through the genius computer system that Adopt-A-Find has. He is a full-blooded Choctaw Indian. And in other words, what I'm trying to say here, don't do that. Don't look at me that way. And what I'm trying to say here is that in spite of everything, I am an American. I am me. I believe in me. I believe in my future. And I believe in the United States of America. If only the mail would come on time. But it doesn't. And the flight plans, I mean, they have got to alter those flight plans. I don't know, maybe it's the working conditions in the factories. Maybe it is that, it's the working conditions. Maybe it's that in the factories because of, that's when my husband works in these my ex-husband. I'm sorry, my estranged husband works in these factories or something like that. It may be the working conditions. Maybe it's the boycott. It may be the boycott consumers. I was involved in a boycott consumer. I can tell you this is one of the most frustrating experiences I've ever had in my life. I mean, it was then I was involved in this thing. I think it was then. It was then that I began to notice the yellow waxy buildup on my floor. And that was way before the sexual diamond thing. Way before it. My husband was having this affair because he has this performance problem. Oh, I'm so sorry. Please strike that. Please don't look. Don't erase. erase. I just mean it's everything. I just mean this is everything. It's everything. You know, it's just like everything is too much. It's just too much. It's the television cameras and the people and the sponsors, and it's too much. It's just too much.
Are you trying to say it's difficult maintaining your identity in the face of modern consumerism?
Are you unliberated?
Are you unprotected against the interest of big business?
Are you buffeted into numbness by the excesses of the media?
I don't know. I don't know. It's just a wonderful world, isn't it? It's just such a wonderful world. What a wonderful place we live in. What a wonderful world. What I did bad. I did bad. I did real bad. Are we still in the air now? Are we in the air? Could we go off the air now and go on the air tomorrow? Could please, but I'm so sorry. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Birthday?
April 8th, 1944.
Maiden name?
Shumway.
Is she going to be all right?
We hope so, Mr. Hartman. Address?
343 Brockner, Fernwood.
Do you have any idea how long she'll have to be here?
That's hard to say, Mr. Shumway.
Will I have to go live with foster parents?
Of course not, sweetheart. Of course not.
Do they know what it is?
Mr. Hartman, according to our psychiatrist's preliminary evaluation, your wife has suffered a complete and total nervous breakdown, mental collapse.
Will she have a room of her own?
Oh, absolutely.
Tom, do you still have your insurance?
Not since I left the plant.
Come along, Mrs. Hartman. I'm Mrs. Gimble, and I'm going to be helping you get used to things around here. What did you say her first name was?
Mary.
Mary Hartman. Mary Hartman.
Do you think we should tell her about Charlie and Loretta?
She wouldn't hear you. Oh, Mary, it's all my fault. If I could just get a drink.
Mary Hartman. Mary Hartman.
If you could just have Dennis show her the way.
Dennis?
Dennis Foley. He's one of our new attendants. He used to be with the Fernwood Police Department.
Mary Hartman. Mary Hartman.
I'm hungry.
Do you think there'll be word from Kathy by the time we get home?
Mary Hartman.
Or maybe
Mary
Billy Twelvetree, so you and Grandpa can calm down.
Mary Hartman. Mary Hartman.
Will they be giving her any medication?
That's up to her doctors.
Will they be giving her shock treatment?
Mary Hartman. Mary Hartman.
Oh, my poor family. My poor little girl.
I'm getting a drink.
I'm hungry.
Mary Hartman. Mary Hartman.
Come along,
Mary
dear.
Hartman. Mary Hartman. Mary Hartman. Mary Hartman. Mary Hartman. Mary Hartman. Mary Hartman.
Hi, this is Cleet Meisenheimer standing in front of Mary Hartman's hospital room with producer Norman Lear. Mr. Lear, what are you going to do now?
Well, Cleet, you've just seen the last episode of the first season of Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, that's okay, because we're not going off the air. What we're going to do is relive the last 26 weeks of Mary Hartman in half the time. We're going to do it by showing you the key and most popular scenes. You know, everybody hasn't seen all of Mary Hartman. People have missed a Tuesday or a Thursday. But in the next 13 weeks, they'll be able to see all of the best of Mary Hartman with the complete story, all of the stories. And we'll be back in 13 weeks with a new season full of fun and surprises on Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman.
That's quite a lot. So. What an awful scene at the beginning with Merle and Loretta, and yeah. I mean, yes, we've got a cliffhanger of what happened with Merle and Loretta and Charlie and Jimmy Joe, and I mean, I hope no one is permanently injured, but I guess I think based on the later scene, at least it seems like Loretta and Charlie survived, or at least that's a guess I've got. I don't know. And then we come to Mary, who, for the first, if I were to break up that scene into chunks, first it's meeting the characters who are interviewing her, you know, who are sort of placeholders for popular figures of the time, and I feel like you've got sort of the Ms. Magazine, Gloria Steinem-ish point of view expressed, and then a figure that sort of mocks Marshall McLuhan, who I admire quite a lot for his work of the period, but that's why I giggled a bit when I heard some of the things that character was saying. And Mary is dodging all of the bullets, and they're asking her questions that I have been thinking this whole time. That criticism of the commercialism that is inherent to this show, it's part and parcel with the show, even though they don't change the products, their actual real products that existed at the time. But this show definitely criticizes all of that. All of the stuff that they talked about is what this show criticizes, and Mary dodges it and dodges it and dodges it to the point of denying so many of the things that we've seen her really actually go through in this series. So she dodges and she dodges and she dodges until she can't dodge anymore, and she has finally admitted something that is true. And that's something that I have waited 26 weeks for her to say at least one thing that was really bothering her. And she finally does. And that's the beginning of her breakdown. And I knew that she was going to have a breakdown at some point in the series. It's part of the history of this show that Mary Hartman has a nervous breakdown. I didn't know when it would happen, but here it is, and here we are. And it was admitting something true. And how many times, if you've listened to me talk, have you heard me ask for Mary to simply admit honestly what is going on? It's not like I don't know what's going on. I'm watching the show, but Mary's the character who never would admit the truth, and she finally did, and it broke her. And then to see that close-up on Mary, that close-up with all of her family around, dropping seeds about what we may see later, and dropping seeds about what we can expect, and characters we haven't quite heard from. And Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. And that was followed by a little scenelet with Clete Meisenheimer and Norman Lear, who deserves so much credit for this show as the producer behind the scenes. Well, I'm glad that I'm glad that he sort of took the meta approach to this show, because there's a little bit of meta in this show that I very much appreciate and maybe I don't talk about quite so much. And he talked about 13 weeks of reruns, and now that it's time for the end of season 1, I don't think I could do 13 weeks of reruns. I'm not planning to do that. But what I am planning to do is 2 weeks of reruns. And that's specifically from the episodes that I did not know how to do things, before episode 60. So I'm going to be taking a look at 10 key episodes over the next 2 weeks, offering thoughts from them, offering my responses now that I've got things in context for the first season, and maybe some other surprises. So that's what's going to happen for the next 2 weeks. I hope to see you there. We're going to start right away with episode 1 of the entire series, and I think it'll be good to revisit. So not 13 whole weeks, I promise, but I think 2 weeks is a good break. I think I'm going to need time to process what just happened. So let's take 2 weeks and look at what we've been doing. Thank you so much for being vulnerable with me. And we will see you for the next 2 weeks in Fernwood.